Okay, in this video, I'd like to cover the user access and setting up access for users. This is one of the first things that you will want to do when you do add a new user into IQ Resell. You are wanting to go into admin here, and you will want to go and set up the user access here. First thing though, when you do set up the user, one thing I do want to point out as well, because this does fall under access, is go to the user access here, and let's bring up Bill Blagan. One thing that you will want to do as well is if they are a commission user, you want to be able to set up their commission account number. So apply a commission account number. And then the second thing is you will want your users to email out of the system as well. So down here, if you look at the lower right, is go to SendGrid Mail and then copy and paste their address or their email address down here into email, and then make sure you send a copy to their inbox, because IQ Reseller, we don't put a copy in the sent folder of your email. And if they want a copy of the email sent from IQ Reseller, you will want to click this box as well. Now let's go to Access, which is under Admin, and we'll go to Access here, and we'll bring this up. Now looking at the screen, there's a couple things. You have your user list to the left here in the up, and then you have groups as well. So we do give you some user groups to work off of that you can assign sales reps to the sales group, warehouse to the warehouse group. They're just a regular user or power user. Identically, they're kind of relatively the same as well. Power user is more of an advanced user, where a user is just more of a basic user. And then you have an admin here that will give full rights as well. As you set up each user for each department, I would only set up one user for each, and then you actually have the ability to copy a user access over. So if I click this button and say I wanted Elma's access to go to Bill Blagan, so what you could do then is set from Bill to Elma. I'm sorry, I have that backwards. So Bill from Elma, and you hit copy, and it will actually update all of those access right over to then from Bill to Elma. So you really only have to set up the user's access once for, or at least one user per department, and then you can copy all those access points over, because we actually do have 350 access points in the system, but they are relatively pretty simple and easy to follow. So let's look at them all together at once though. So let's click on admin here, which is going to expand them all out. And first thing that I want to point out here is, like under system, for example, if I was to deselect system and then start setting these individually, this does not activate the access. So system would still be turned off for Elma here. So what you have to do is you have to select the main category first, and then go to the subcategories and then start deselecting what you don't want them to be. And so really quickly here, let's go through system here. So system is really only going to be for the true admin users, the system owner who owns this program within your company, or more of the advanced users, managers, or even business owners as well. System date here, what the system date, or session date I should say, does is it sets the date in the bottom, and it only sets the date for the user that is logged into as well. So if you need to backdate some bills or some invoices or whatever, and you just need to do some backdating real quick, you can actually change the session date and then key in those bills into a different date if they need to go into October instead of November. Here you also have the ability to edit users if they have the ability to access system settings to set up the settings within the system as well. If you want to give them access to the report admin, the comments, and then as well as be able to edit comments and have predefined comments show on purchase orders, sales orders, and all that other fun stuff. And this gives them the access to delete as well. If you want to use the credit card feature to manage who's paying for what purchase order on what credit card, this is where you can give them access to do this. You have the ability to set up condition codes and modify condition codes. You have the ability to change the currency with these. Conversion rates for if you have a base currency at USD and then you're doing a deal within Canadian, be able to set those conversion rates for that currency change, because we do support multi-currency within the system. The ability to set up taxes, terms. This is where you can set up with QuickBooks Sync if you're using QuickBooks as well. So if you don't want people to be able to sync with QuickBooks, you can just deselect it like that. System shipper setup. So if you want to set up generic shippers and have the ability to do that, that's what that access point will do, and then have overall the ability to set access. Down here at the bottom, you have bank accounts. So some of these do have subcategories under the subcategory here too. So bank accounts, where this one has the ability to create a new bank account, view a bank account, and delete a bank account as well. That's for system. Going on to purchase orders. Anyone that's a purchase rep or a sales rep, I would always say they should be able to edit and create new ones. void would be up to you as well. And then we make sure you do understand that under purchase orders, I should say, that we do have purchase proposals under purchase orders. So anything that falls under the buy category here will fall under purchase orders. The real big ones that you should look out for under this one is, do you want them to be able to change a cost on received items once they've been marked received in the system? And then do you want them to be able to change cost once an item has been reserved to a sales order? So this is the ability to change cost after processing has been complete or if something has been reserved to our sales order. I would say most would not want that selected. And then the other big one too that you have is the ability to show transactions from reps. Some users don't want reps to be able to see other reps' transactions. And then as you see here on this one, this is a prime example. If you hover over some of these as well, you actually do get a little pop-up indicator that would tell you what this setting does. Some of them don't have them, like I went up earlier to void purchase orders, because it's very cut and dry and simple that means to void a purchase order. Down here as well, we do allow you to add, download, and delete attachments to purchase proposals and purchase attachments as well. So you can see that you have these functions here. This is always a great feature to be able to add MSA, scopes of works onto purchase orders as well. Let's close out purchase order now. Let's go to sales order. Same thing, such as purchase orders. This gives you the ability to set up and modify sales proposals and sales orders as well. The two big ones, once again, is to be able to show transactions of all reps. Some don't want other reps to see each other's stuff. Going down through here, then you have bills down here. This allows you to create new bills, void bills out, and view bills. Really, relatively, the only people that should have access to bills is going to be more for, let's see here, managers, accounting, or business owners. Those are the ones that should have access to the bills here. This is where you can set up to void prepayments, set up prepayments, print checks as well, and then show transactional reps as well. Again, if you do give them access to see their own bills as well, typically you don't want them to see other bills from other reps as well. Bills, pretty straightforward here. Invoices now, it works exactly just like bills as well. The only thing is sometimes we have this new one. This is the Open Merchant Portal. So if you are using our credit card integration, you will want to turn this on to be able to see the Merchant Portal. So that way you can log in and see all of your credit card transactions and what credit cards have been processed and where things stand. So that would be where you go in and see your Merchant Portal from IQ Reseller to see what's going on with the credit card integration. If you want to learn more about the credit card integration, reach out to support and put in a support ticket and we can get that set up for you. Inventory is a pretty important one too as well. Some of these are self-explanatory themselves, but ones that I do want to point out is be able to, let's see here, text attributes. This is where you would set up the text attributes. Text attributes, what they are is if you want to create a text attribute that gets stuck to the inventory item but doesn't create a text attribute file or an attribute under the attribute, and then you have 500 attributes showing under serial number. So that's where you would go to set those up and who has permissions to do that. This also gives other users important access to import inventory as well. And you're going to notice some of these are going to have grayed out access. Depending on the access level in the group that they belong to, we have to give them access to be able to do certain things. So that's why they're grayed out, in that we don't allow you to modify those accesses. Going down through inventory now, client vendor as well. Most of these are going to be grayed out to where we don't allow you to modify or change client vendors when you're an admin. Next, ledger as well. It's going to be mostly grayed out because being an admin, you have full right to the ledger as well. So we'll close out on ledger. Real big one though is reports, real quick on order processing. So this is where you can go. Some companies want shipping validation turned on when it comes to shipping. So if you're doing a lot of shipping through IQ Reseller, you are going to want to have override shipping validation turned on to where it's going to make the shipper validate to make sure he's got the right items. If you do ever want to turn that off, this is where you would go to set that up. And this is also where you would go to set up who has the ability to create returns, update returns, and process returns as well. And then here would be all of your return settings on who can do what part of the return as well. Close that one. down there, and then reports. This is where you set up to who has access to print things or email or get labels from IQ Reseller. So if you ever see that the print button somewhere has been grayed out, it's because they don't have access under reports to turn on the print. Once again, you want to turn on reports just like I did here. Don't leave it blank and then start turning these on. You want to leave it fully marked and then deselect the ones. So if I was a warehouse guy, I would say, you know what, no one needs access to bills, invoices, client vendor, commissions, ledger, but give them access to inventory and just turn off price history, the COGS report, the inventory, the shortage report as well. Because there's the main one right here is you want them to be able to print labels. If you turn off print labels from the inventory option here under reports, then they can't print labels throughout the entire system as well. So that's a big one to know. A lot of these are also self-explanatory down here. So we'll close that one out for reports. Bank, this is allowing the bank rec function to be turned on and off. So if you see the bank rec here, if you turn that off, this goes away. Web APIs, this doesn't really matter because no one's going to be set up for an API user unless you create an API user from the admin portal page, and there's a separate video for that one as well. So we'll close those two out. Task Manager, this is a great tool. I think everyone should always be using the Task Manager here. This is where you have the ability to create new reps, change the rep. The only thing that I would recommend is no one should be able to see other reps' tasks except for like their manager or the lead within that company as well. Because if you assign tasks to multiple rep and they're seeing all reps information, they're going to see all the tasks. And a lot of times reps only want to see their own tasks. And by I mean rep meaning user within IQ Reseller as well. Lastly is the erasure. So we do allow a, this is for the Blanco integration erasure. So if you want to allow an import from the Blanco integration, this is where you turn that on and off at as well. And then this is where you can turn on and off who can do what within the ITAD module as well. So if you don't want people to create workflow templates, you would want to turn this off, as well as service speed templates, to where you have a standard service speed template that you want them to select for all of their client vendor records or workflow process. This is where you would go and do that. As always, if you ever have more questions about the access settings, they are pretty straightforward though, but if you do have more questions on this, please submit a support ticket and we'll be glad to answer those questions.